The blade is already at my throat when the story begins, cold steel pressed hard enough to promise blood. The crowd is silent but not calm, silent like people waiting to watch something irreversible. My wrists are not chained. That's the insult. They want me to stand steady while they decide if I deserve to breathe. Across the courtyard, he is on his knees, iron bands biting into his shoulders and wrists, ancient metal glowing faintly where it suppresses him. Vampire King does not look at the executioner. He looks at me, and the sky above us is already turning black. Proceed, the High Magistrate snaps. The blade pushes deeper. I feel skin split. A thin line of warmth trails down my neck, and that is when the chains around him crack, not break, crack. A sound like a mountain splitting open rips through the courtyard. The guards stumble back. The iron restraints fracture in thin, glowing lines. His head lifts slowly, too slowly. His eyes aren't red. They aren't wild, they are empty. If she dies, he says quietly, so does your capital. The executioner hesitates for 1 second, wrong choice. The chains explode outward, precise, controlled. Iron shards shoot into marble columns and pin 2 council guards to stone. The sky above the palace folds inward like ink spreading in water. People scream now, real screams, not court murmurs. I should run. I don't, because I know something the crowd does not. If he loses control completely, there will be nothing left to run to. He stands. The air bends around him. The executioner is lifted off his feet without being touched. His blade clatters across the stone and slides to my boots. The High Magistrate raises a relic staff glowing with white fire. "Contain him," he shouts. He's too late. Palace windows shatter outward. The courtyard floor splits in jagged lines. Shadows climb up walls like living things. Pressure builds in my ears like the world itself is being squeezed. He takes 1 step toward me, just one, and the ground blackens beneath his heel. "You were supposed to die quietly," the magistrate hisses at me. I meet his eyes. "You should have aimed better." Lucian, because yes, that is his name, does not blink. He doesn't breathe. But something ancient behind his ribs is waking fast. The wind whips my hair across my face. My knees nearly buckle. He looks at the cut on my throat and something inside him snaps wider. The courtyard gates slam shut by themselves. People begin to kneel, not out of loyalty but fear. His power is not rage, it's gravitational. Everything tilts toward him. The relic staff in the magistrate's hand flickers violently. I remember the coffin, dark, close, his arm around my waist, the strange steadiness in that suffocating space. He is catastrophic force, and somehow when I am near, that force narrows instead of exploding. Another tower cracks behind us. Stone falls. A scream cuts short. That does it. I step forward. A guard grabs my arm. The wind hurls him 10 feet across the courtyard. Lucian's gaze snaps to the movement like a predator reacting to threat. "Lucian," I shout. He doesn't respond. His shadow spreads behind him, massive, almost winged. The sky darkens further. The council begins chanting an old containment prayer. It dies halfway through the second line. The executioner tries to crawl away. Lucian flicks 2 fingers. The man freezes mid-motion, suspended like a broken puppet. "Stop," I say again, closer now. The air pushes against me like I'm walking into a storm. My ears ring, my lungs struggle. "You think she controls him," the magistrate shouts to the crowd. "She destabilizes him." Wrong again. I step directly in front of Lucian, close enough to feel the cold radiating off him. His eyes finally focus on me, not through me. "You're bleeding," he says, voice distorted, layered with something older. "I've had worse mornings," I reply. His hand lifts slightly. The shadows surge. I don't step back. Instead, I step into him, press my body against his chest, wrap my arms around his waist, just like inside the coffin. The courtyard gasps. He goes rigid. The wind falters for half a heartbeat. "Look at me," I whisper. The shadows hesitate. "You don't get to burn this city because of me." Another crack splits the courtyard wall, but slower now. His hands hover above my back, afraid to touch me, afraid he will crush bone or shatter breath. "You will not take her," he growls to the council without looking away from me. The magistrate makes a fatal mistake. He lunges forward with a concealed silver dagger aimed at my ribs. Lucian sees it, and for a terrifying second I feel him let go. The sky turns pitch black. The dagger melts midair. The magistrate's scream cuts off as the ground swallows him to his knees. I tighten my grip. Stay with me, I whisper against his chest. Not them, me. That does it. The pressure in the air collapses inward instead of outward. The shadows recoil like they've hit a wall. The wind drops from hurricane to harsh gust. He exhales, not breath, control. The courtyard falls silent except for distant rubble settling. He looks down at me like I am something both fragile and necessary. You should fear me, he says quietly. I do, I answer. I just don't run. Behind us, half the council is on their knees. The rest look like they've seen prophecy twist in real time. Lucian straightens. His arm slides around my waist, not forceful but firm, possessive, protective, dangerous. Touch her again, he says calmly to the court, and I remove the sky. The threat is not dramatic, it is factual. No one challenges it. The magistrate struggles from the cracked stone, blood running from his nose. She is your weakness, he spits. Lucian's gaze turns colder than the night above us. She is the reason you are still breathing. The crowd feels the shift. He does not stand because of relic chains anymore. He stands because I am here. And that terrifies them more than his power ever did. He leans slightly closer to my ear, voice low and edged. If you had died, I would not have stopped. That is not romance. That is a warning. The execution platform cracks beneath our feet. The council retreats. Guards hesitate, unsure who commands them now. Lucian looks down at me again. The cut on my throat still bleeds faintly. He reaches toward it, pauses, then gently brushes his thumb beneath the wound. Warmth spreads, healing, controlled. You steady me, he says, not a question but a statement. And you terrify me, I answer. His lips almost curve. Almost. Good, he says softly. Stay terrified. Because fear means I understand the scale of him. The courtyard doors open slowly. Citizens watch from beyond. Smoke rises from cracked towers. The capital survived, but barely. Lucian turns to the assembly, his hand still at my waist, not claiming, guarding. The execution is cancelled, he says evenly. No cheers, just obedience. The sky lightens slightly like the storm reconsidered. But this is not over. They tried to remove me quietly. Now they know what happens if they try again. And that knowledge is more dangerous than any blade. They don't attack straight away. That's the part that should scare me most. The council backs off like they're being polite, like this was just a misunderstanding, like they didn't nearly slice my throat in public. Their robes drag over cracked stone as they retreat into the palace, and every step is a promise. We'll finish this somewhere quieter. Lucian keeps his arm around my waist as we walk through the broken archway, but it isn't gentle. It's controlled pressure, like he's reminding himself I'm real, I'm here, and he can't afford to blink. The moment we cross the threshold, the guards fall into line around us, forming a moving wall. Not to trap me, to stop anyone else getting close enough to breathe near me. I feel eyes on my neck. On the thin bandage, a servant presses there with shaking hands. Lucian doesn't let the servant's fingers touch me for more than a second. He takes the cloth himself, wraps it once, and his knuckles go pale with restraint. Don't flinch, he murmurs to me, low enough that only I hear. If you flinch, they'll smell it, I swallow. Smell what? His jaw tightens. That you're human. He says it like an insult the world keeps throwing at me. We reach a corridor lined with old portraits. Every face is dead-eyed nobility, every frame heavy enough to crush a skull. The air changes here, colder, older, like the palace is holding its breath. Lucian stops at a door carved with thorn patterns and pushes it open with one hand. Inside, it's not a bedroom. It's a vault dressed like a bedroom, thick black curtains, salt lines etched into the floor like scars, a fireplace that's lit even though there's no wood. And in the center, like a quiet threat, a coffin made of polished dark timber with silver inlays that look like veins. My stomach flips. No, I say before I even think. Lucian's eyes flick to me. Yes. That thing is why my voice cracks. I know, he cuts in, calm but sharp. He closes the door behind us with a heavy click that sounds like the world locking. You're safer in here. That's mad, I snap, heat rising, fear dressing itself as anger. You can't just put me back in the... I'm not putting you anywhere, he says, stepping closer until my back hits the edge of the coffin without me noticing. His gaze drops to my throat. They tried to kill you outside. Do you think they'll stop because I shouted? His voice lowers. They'll come with quieter knives. The way he says it makes my skin prickle. He lifts his hand, then stops, like touching me is a risk he's trying not to take. "You're bleeding again," he says, softer, and I hate how my body reacts to that softness. I shift and his pupils widen. Not hunger, not exactly, something worse. Possession. He notices my movement and shuts it down with a single breath, shoulders pulling back like he's physically yanking himself off a ledge. "Don't test me," he murmurs. The words aren't cruel. They're terrified, emotional spike. I force myself to breathe steady. "What am I to you?" I ask, and it comes out too quiet, too honest. His answer is instant. "A problem." He sees my face change and adds, voice rougher, "A problem I won't let them solve." He moves past me and drags a heavy chair with one hand, placing it beside the coffin like he's done this 1,000 times. Then he sits, not regal, not relaxed. "Ready? You're going to sleep," he says. "I'm not," I shoot back. "I can't." "You can," he says, eyes never leaving mine. "Your body already knows how." That sentence lands like a slap. What's that supposed to mean? He doesn't answer straight away. Instead, he reaches into the inside pocket of his coat and pulls out a thin black bolt, no longer than a finger, with a pale gleam at its tip. My breath catches. "That was meant for you," he says, placing it on the table like it's nothing. "Sunsteel." The word tastes wrong. "It was meant to pin you," he continues, voice flat. "And when it pins you, it pins me." I stare at the bolt. "So that's it," I whisper. "I'm bait." His eyes flash, sharp as a blade. "You're not bait." He stands in one smooth motion. Too smooth, too close. If they wanted bait, they'd throw you into the square and wait for me to roar. They want something else. "What?" I demand. He leans down until his lips are near my ear and the chill of his breath hits my skin like a warning. "They want you to replace what the coffin took from me." My stomach drops. "Took from you?" His voice turns dark. "My sleep." He straightens, eyes hard, and points at the coffin. "That thing does not open for anyone. And for you." I step away, but he catches my wrist, not hurting, just stopping me like I'm about to walk into fire. The contact sends a sharp pulse through my arm, and I see it hit him too. His throat flexes, his grip tightens for a half second, and his eyes flare silver. He releases me like he's been burned. Emotional spike. "Right," I say, forcing a laugh that sounds wrong in this room. "So I'm some kind of key." "You're not a key," he says, voice low. "You're the lock." The words hang there heavy. "I don't understand," I whisper. "You don't need to," he replies. "You just need to stay alive." He turns away as if that ends the conversation, but I'm done being dragged through dark rooms without answers. "My brother died in your blood mines," I spit, stepping toward him. "My city starved under your taxes. Don't stand there acting like you're the hero." He freezes. Not because I insulted him, because I said brother. His face doesn't change much, but the air does. It dips colder. "Say his name," he orders, quiet and dangerous. "What?" "Your brother," he repeats. "Say his name." My mouth goes dry. "Elias." The instant I say it, the silver lines in the coffin's inlay faintly glow like it's listening. Lucian's eyes flick to the coffin, then back to me. "Again," he says. I swallow. "Elias." The glow strengthens, a soft pulse. The floor under my feet vibrates like a heartbeat. I step back in shock. "What is that?" My voice shakes. Lucian looks like he wants to deny it, but the palace is telling the truth for him. "That," he says, voice stripped bare, "is why they wanted you dead in the courtyard." Emotional spike. The door handle rattles. Someone is outside. Lucian moves before I can blink, crossing the room without footsteps and placing himself between me and the door. "Who is it?" he calls, calm. A woman's voice answers, sweet as poison. "Your bride-to-be, my king." I feel the words before I understand them. Bride-to-be. My chest tightens stupidly, irrationally, like I've been punched by something I didn't see coming. Lucian's face goes colder. "Leave." The woman laughs softly. "Oh, don't be rude. The court is shaken. They need reassurance." The handle turns. It doesn't open, not locked, refused. The woman's tone sharpens. "You think I can't enter your chambers?" Lucian replies, voice like winter. "Not when I don't want you here." Silence. Then a softer voice, male, older. "My king," it says, measured. "We must speak. The incident in the courtyard." Lucian's eyes narrow. "Advisor Merrick," he says, "if you've come to lecture me, save it." The old man breathes out, patient. "Not a lecture, a warning." Lucian doesn't move, but I see his shoulders tense. "They will vote," Merrick continues. "Tonight, quietly. They will attempt to remove the complication." My stomach drops at the word complication. Lucian's jaw ticks. Try, he says simply. I step forward, anger pushing past fear. Stop talking about me like I'm a stain, I snap at the door. Say my name. The corridor goes quiet. Then the woman speaks again, lower now, intrigued. She has teeth, she purrs. How adorable. Lucian's head tilts slightly and the room darkens at the edges. Do not speak to her, he says. The possessiveness in his tone is controlled but absolute, and it hits me in the ribs like heat, emotional spike. The woman pauses, then drops the sweetness. You're hiding her, she says. Why? Lucian doesn't answer. He doesn't give her the satisfaction. The old advisor sighs. My king, he says, open the door, let me see her. Lucian's lips curl faintly. No. Then I must assume the worst, Merrick replies, still calm. That the Coffin's choice has marked you, that you are unstable. Lucian's eyes flicker silver again, and I feel the pressure rise in the room like a storm gathering behind glass. Careful, Lucian says softly, or I'll forget you raised me. The woman laughs once sharp. There it is, she says, that lovely threat. You always did prefer fear to love. Lucian's fist clenches, the fireplace flames gutter, the coffin glows brighter like it's reacting to his mood. I see it. When he gets pulled emotionally, the room starts to crack at the seams. And the worst part, it's not only anger that does it. His gaze slides to me and the glow spikes again. Desire, curiosity, need, emotional spike. I step closer to him, careful, like approaching a wild animal that might also be a man. Lucian, I whisper, look at me. He does. His eyes are stormy but present. The pressure eases a fraction. Outside, the woman's voice turns dangerous. We will return at midnight, she says, with witnesses, with law, with holy metal. And if you refuse, you'll start a war, I finish under my breath. Lucian's mouth twitches, almost a smile, almost grief. They started it, he murmurs. The footsteps retreat, but the threat lingers like smoke. I turn to the coffin, swallowing hard. Why did it choose me? I ask, quieter now. Lucian stares at the coffin like it's an enemy he can't kill. Because you didn't scream, he says. Most humans scream. That's not an answer, I push. He steps closer, too close. His presence is overwhelming, cold and heavy, and yet my body leans toward it like it's warmth. You want the truth? He asks, voice low. Fine. He lifts his hand and places it flat on the coffin lid. The silver inlay flares and the room tilts just for a blink like reality slips. I see flashes, not a story, a sensation, fire in streets. A tower collapsing, a woman's laugh, a child crying, Lucian's face twisted in pain. Then darkness. I jerk back, heart hammering. What was that? I gasp. Lucian's voice is hoarse. That's what happens when I wake up alone. Emotional spike. The implication hits like ice water. So you keep sleeping, I whisper, to stop disaster. He nods once. I tried. His eyes lock on mine. But the coffin woke me anyway, with you. I take a shaky breath. So I'm what? A safety measure. Lucian's jaw clenches. You're not a thing, he says sharply, like he hates that I even framed it that way. Then quieter, you're the only person the palace will listen to besides me. I swallow. Then why do I feel like everyone wants me dead? He steps in closer until there's barely air between us. He doesn't touch me. He holds himself back like restraint is a weapon. Because if you stay, he murmurs, I can finally stop pretending. My pulse stutters. Pretending what? His eyes darken. That I don't want you. Emotional spike. The confession is not romantic. It's dangerous. It makes the coffin glow like a living heart. It makes the curtains tremble. It makes my throat tighten because I can tell he's not flirting, he's admitting a fault line. I take a step back, not because I don't feel it, but because I do. You're engaged, I whisper, pointing at the door as if the word itself can protect me. That woman is a contract, Lucian cuts in. Like everything in this palace. He pauses, eyes flicking to my throat again. But you, he stops himself. His fingers flex like he wants to grip my waist and pull me into him and lock the world out. He doesn't. He turns away abruptly, voice rough. You need rest. I laugh once, bitter. You're joking. He looks back over his shoulder. Midnight, he says, they come with law. And you'll fight, I say, and the palace will crack, he replies, and people will die. He steps toward the coffin and places his palm on the lid again. The glow steadies. He looks at me, expression unreadable. Unless you do what you did outside. My stomach flips. Hug you, I say, almost mocking because it sounds ridiculous. His eyes flash. Hold me, he corrects softly, like you mean it. The air between us turns thick. He takes a careful breath. If you don't, he adds, voice like a confession he hates, I might not stop. Emotional spike. I stare at him, suddenly understanding the cruelty of the situation. The council isn't scared of me because I'm powerful. They're scared because I make him human enough to choose, and they prefer monsters they can predict. I step toward the coffin, then stop. If I help you, I say slowly, what do I get? He studies me. You live, he says. That's not enough, I reply, surprising myself. I want the truth about my brother, about why the coffin reacted to his name. Lucian's gaze sharpens. You don't want that truth, he says. Try me, I whisper. He is silent for a long beat. Then he nods once, grim. After midnight, he says, if you survive it. He reaches to the coffin and slides the lid open just a crack. Cold rolls out like breath from a grave. He doesn't look at the coffin, he looks at me. Get in, he says, my spine locks. No chance. It's not a request, he replies, calm. It's the only place the palace can hide you. I glare. You just said I'm not a thing. His mouth twitches. You're not, he says. That's why I'm scared. Emotional spike. I step closer despite myself. I look into the coffin's darkness, then back at him. You'll get in too, I say. Lucian's eyes hold mine. Yes. And you'll keep your hands to yourself, I add. His jaw tightens like that costs him something. I will try, he says. That's not an answer, I snap. His gaze drops to my lips for half a second, then returns to my eyes hard. I swear, he says, and the word lands heavy like the palace hears it. I climb into the coffin, breath shallow. The darkness swallows sound. He follows, lowering himself behind me, the lid closing above us with a soft click that feels like fate. Cold presses in from all sides, yet his body behind me is steady, solid, terrifyingly still. His arm slides around my waist, careful, not crushing but absolutely claiming the space. Don't panic, he murmurs against my ear. I let out a shaky breath. I'm not panicking. He huffs a small, humorless laugh. Liar. Then quieter he adds, this is what they fear. What? I whisper, throat tight. His voice goes low, intimate, lethal. That you'll learn how to command me. Emotional spike. Outside the coffin, far away, a bell begins to toll. Midnight is coming. And when it arrives, they won't bring a single blade. They'll bring witnesses, holy metal, and someone inside this palace who knows exactly how to make Lucian lose control on purpose. I feel it then, a faint vibration through the coffin wood like a signal. The palace isn't just hiding me, it's preparing. Lucian's grip tightens slightly, not to trap me, but like he's bracing for impact. Listen, he murmurs. If I tell you to run, you run. I swallow. And if I tell you to hold you. I ask, barely breathing. He goes still. Then his voice, almost broken, almost honest. Then you save everything. Midnight doesn't creep in, it strikes. The bell outside the palace hits 12 and the sound doesn't echo, it lands heavy and final. Inside the coffin, the vibration runs through the wood and into my spine. Lucian's arm tightens around my waist, not crushing but instinctively bracing. He goes utterly still behind me. No breath, no movement, just tension coiled tight as wire. Footsteps approach, measured, confident. Then the first hammer blow hits the coffin lid. Holy metal. The impact burns through the wood and into my bones. Lucian's body reacts before his mind does. His grip hardens. The silver inlay across the coffin flares bright like veins lit under skin. Do not move, he whispers against my ear, voice layered and dangerous. Another strike, harder, the lid cracks. Light spears through the split and holy chains slam down across the coffin, locking it shut from outside. I hear the bride's voice first, calm and satisfied. Open it, she says softly. Let's see what the relic truly chose. Lucian's body shakes once. The pressure inside the coffin spikes. The wood begins to splinter, not from the blows outside, but from him. I twist slightly in his hold. Don't, I whisper. They chained it, he replies, voice darkening. They chained you. The final hammer strike shatters the lid. Light floods in. Holy chains fall over us like snakes. Lucian's body convulses as they sear into his shoulders. He doesn't scream, that's worse. He simply inhales once and the air around us warps. The bride stands above the coffin in silver armor woven with sunsteel thread. Her eyes slide to me first, not him. Step away, she orders gently, like she's offering mercy. Let the king return to what he is. Lucian tries to rise. The chains snap tight, dragging him down to his knees inside the coffin. His shadow spills outward across the chamber walls like ink bleeding through paper. Merrick steps forward with a thin ceremonial blade glowing white. "End this before it roots deeper," he says calmly. The blade is aimed at me. Lucian loses it. The chamber explodes, not outward, upward. The ceiling cracks in a spiderweb pattern. Chandeliers drop in shards of crystal. Guards are thrown back like broken toys. The holy chains glow red-hot but still hold him in place. "Kill her," the bride shouts, and that's when I see it clearly. This was never about law. This was about control. If I die, he shatters. If he shatters, they justify removing him. The blade comes down. I move before I think, throwing myself over Lucian's chest, pressing my body against his like a shield. The blade stops inches from my spine. The silver lines on the coffin blaze white. Lucian's voice breaks through the chaos. "If she bleeds, I end you all." The bride laughs once, sharp. "That's the point." The chains bite deeper into his skin. Smoke rises from the contact points. His control is fraying fast. The chamber walls begin to fracture. Outside, I hear the palace groaning like an animal under strain. "Lucian," I whisper urgently, hands on his face, forcing him to look at me. "Look at me." His eyes flicker between silver and black. The ancient thing inside him claws to surface fully. "They hurt you," he growls, voice distorted. "I'm fine," I lie. "Stay with me." The bride raises her hand and the holy chains tighten again. Lucian arches in pain, shadow wings tearing briefly through the air before snapping back. I understand then. This isn't just about stopping him from losing control. It's about choosing him while he's chained. I press my forehead to his. "Breathe," I whisper. He doesn't breathe, but he listens. The shadow energy doesn't explode this time. It contracts, it folds inward. The chamber trembles but does not collapse. The silver glow fades from violent to steady. The holy chains crack not from brute force but from strain. The bride's smile falters. "Impossible," she breathes. Merrick stares, eyes wide. "She's not weakening him," he murmurs. "She's shaping him." Lucian's hands lift slowly, gripping the chains instead of the air. He doesn't rip them apart wildly. He snaps them deliberately, one by one, each break sharp and controlled. The final chain falls. Silence crashes down heavier than the chaos did. Lucian rises from the coffin fully, shadow curling behind him like a cloak. He steps forward, not toward the bride, not toward the council, toward me. He lifts my chin gently, checking my eyes like I'm the one who might break. "You stayed," he says softly. "I didn't have a choice," I answer. He shakes his head once. "You did." The bride lunges in fury, blade flashing. Lucian doesn't even turn. His hand lifts slightly and the blade disintegrates midair. The bride falls to her knees, not from magic but from the realization that she lost. Lucian finally faces the council. His voice is calm, worse than fury. "You chained me to test her," he says evenly. "You tested the wrong person." No dramatic threats, no roaring sky, just fact. Merrick lowers his head first. "My king," he says quietly, "we misjudged." "Yes," Lucian replies. He turns back to me, placing himself half a step in front of me but not blocking me, not hiding me, standing with me. Then he does something no one in that chamber expected. He kneels, not in surrender, in declaration. The entire court inhales sharply. Lucian bows his head slightly toward me and speaks clearly enough for every noble to hear. "She is not my weakness," he says. "She is the line I will not cross." The words hit like a verdict. Power shifts. He stands again, but this time the room sees it differently. The king is not restrained by relic or council. He is restrained by choice. And that choice stands beside him, not beneath him. The bride is escorted out in silence. Merrick does not argue. The council disperses like people who just watched history rearrange itself. When the chamber empties, it's just us. Broken ceiling, cracked stone, faint smoke in the air. Lucian turns to me slowly. Storm inside him is quiet now, but not gone. It never will be. "You could command me," he says, voice low. "I don't want to," I reply. His gaze sharpens. "You already do." I step closer until there's barely space between us. "Then listen carefully," I say. "I don't belong to this coffin, I don't belong to your court, and I don't belong to your fear." He studies my face like I'm rewriting something sacred. "You belong," he says quietly, "because you chose to stay." I shake my head once. "No," he stills. "I stay," I correct, "because I decide when you burn the world." Silence. Then slowly a dangerous, almost proud smile touches his mouth. "Then decide wisely," he murmurs. Final image, the throne hall repaired but still scarred. Lucian seated on the throne, shadow steady, not spilling. I stand beside him, not as decoration, not as captive, not even as queen. The court watches carefully. They understand now. The most dangerous creature in the kingdom answers to no counsel. He answers to a choice, and that choice has a heartbeat. If you were the king, would you forgive her? Yes or no? Drop your answer below. And if this story held you from blade to throne, like, subscribe and stay for the next awakening.